Liang Fa was born in 1789 in Shenzhou, China. He was born to a poor farming family. He started schooling at the age of 11. His parents made a continual effort to help him read and to write. In 1804, at age 15, he went to Guangzhou, China, in search of a job. He worked as a pen maker there for a little bit, but soon he was chosen as a printer and worked under a master for 4 years. In 1807, Robert Morrison arrived in Guangzhou as the first Protestant missionary to China. His colleague, William Milne, arrived there 6 years later. Direct evangelism was not allowed as in the law, so they primarily focused on translation work and producing other literature and tracts. He worked with Morrison as a printer. Then Morrison sent Liang Fa to work as a printer in Malacca under Milne. How Liang Fa came to know Christ. Liang Fa was originally hostile to the gospel, but later Liang Fa realized that the gospel had power that his traditional religion did not have. He realized that the gospel could deliver him from the bondage of sin. In 1815, Mills recorded a first-person account of Liang Fa's conversion. This spread widely. Liang Fa came to know Christ through the Mills ministry and was baptized by Milne on November 3, 1816. This was less than 2 years after Morrison had baptized the first Protestant Chinese Christian. After his conversion, his return home. In 1819, Liang Fa returned back to his home village. He went to preach the gospel to his people. He also got married to his wife. His preaching. He made a book called Miscellaneous Exhortations and distributed them to his neighbors and friends. The police reacted harshly to this. They arrested him and they burned the copies of the book and the printing blocks used to publish them. His time in prison. He spent 2 days in prison, then Morrison got him released. He had gotten beaten with a bamboo cane 30 times and he was compelled to pay $70. After he was released from prison, he saw his wife convert to Christ and his first son was also born. His mission work. Liang Fa is mainly known for his publishings of books and tracts, being the first preacher in China, and for preaching the gospel in China. Liang Fa went and preached at Christian hospitals in China. He also preached in chapels. After he had made his own tracts, he thought to distribute Christian literature to scholars who were gathered for prefectural and provincial imperial exams. He printed 7,000 or 70,000 tracts in a year, distributed to thousands of those who came to the exam in Guangzhou and those who came for the prefectural seats in Guangdong. People began to give their life to Christ. Liang accompanied Wat Nuong, another Chinese Christian printer, on a 250-mile trek to distribute Christian tracts around southwest Guangdong. He continued this practice for 3 or 4 more years. Later life. Liang Fa continued to preach the gospel. William Milne died in 1822. Morrison died in 1834. That year, Liang Fa was forced to leave for Singapore after he was arrested for distributing Christian tracts at imperial examination sites. In 1845, the ban of preaching the gospel was finally lifted. For the most of the rest of his life, Liang Fa preached in 2 Christian hospitals in Guangzhou. His wife died in 1849. Then Liang Fa also died in 1855 at age 66. Liang Fa was the first Christian preacher in China. His hope for China. Although in the age in which we live, we may not see the results, yet we may leave that on record which will transmit the true principles of the gospel to others, in the hope of converting men of succeeding generations. Quiz. Where was Liang Fa born? Like the city. What city was he?
That's a difficult question.
He was born in Shenzhou. Who were the 2 Christians who came to China and helped Liang Fa to know about Christ?
Morrison and Milne.
Yeah, that's right. Where are 2 places where Liang Fa either handed out tracts or preached the gospel? Examination sites. Yeah. On average, how many Christian tracts did Liang Fa print in 1 year?
70,000.
Yeah. Okay. To what country was Liang Fa sent for handing out tracts at imperial examinations?
Singapore.
Yeah. Wherever we do God's work, remember that He has said, "I will bless you and you will be a blessing." Thank you.
Alright.